Hello, lovelies. This is Lynn, the Silver Goddess Tarot. Today, I'm going to do part two of Let's Talk About Love. Um, this is a regular question that I get during the lives on Sunday of when am I going to find somebody? When am I going to find a partner? And what that brings to mind, for me anyway, is when I was young, I heard my mother always say she wanted to be worthy of somebody else's love. And she always looked to that other person to validate her as a person. And I want to help people recognize that mindset and to switch it to not am I worthy of them, but are they also worthy of me? That it's a mutual worthiness. Um, to start, you have to define your own standards. And before you even consider dating and loving somebody else, you have to you have to know yourself. You have to know what matters to you. What non-negotiables do you require in a partner, such as integrity and kindness and respect and emotional maturity? This is not about an, an attitude of arrogance. It's about self-respect. Your worth is inherent simply because you're a human being. It is not earned through relationship. It's simply because you are alive means you are worthy of respect and of being loved. The question then becomes, does this person meet the standards I have set for my life? The focus of finding a loving partner in the past um, has been a lot about self-doubt. Am I smart enough? Am I attractive enough? Am I successful enough? Those are the things that a lot of people have focused on. Again, am I worthy of their love? Success, the most powerful change you can make is to flip that script. Stop seeing yourself as the person applying, if you will, to be somebody's partner, and instead start seeing yourself as the person interviewing somebody else. Before you consider dating and loving somebody else, you must define your own standards. As I said a minute ago, do they have the integrity that you need? Do they have the kindness? Are they emotionally mature? And in terms of that integrity, what does that look like in action? They consistently tell you the truth, even when it's uncomfortable and inconvenient. They own their own mistakes. The non negotiable here is zero tolerance for habitual lying, gaslighting, and significant deception. And what do I mean by significant deception? I'm talking about somebody who you want to focus on this topic, but they're trying to direct your attention over there. So redirecting the conversation so it's not difficult or lying by omission. They're not giving you the whole story. Reliability, what that looks like in action is that they follow through on their word from those small promises that they make to the large commitments. They are a person you can count on and you can lean on them. You have to be able to trust their actions and their commitments. They're financially stable or actively working toward financial stability, and they handle money transparently and responsibility. They must not knowingly jeopardize their financial future. A great example of this is overusing charge cards and going into debt and then hiding that debt. And a lot of this is like we all deal with a lot of these things in ourselves and in others. We are not perfect human beings. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit. If these are things that you do, you can change how you handle them. You can be more open. You can be more forthcoming. It's hard. It's really hard. But these are the things that are very common in terms of red flags, how you can determine whether a partner is worthy of you. Okay, let's move on. Um, Respect. They value your opinions. They trust your boundaries, your time, and your privacy. They treat you with dignity, especially during a conflict. So that means no name calling, no yelling, no personal insults or public humiliation. For me, when I'm in an argument with somebody, when there is a disagreement with them, it is always my goal not to hurt somebody's feelings, but it's also like I need to feel safe when I'm in a discussion with somebody else. And if somebody is deliberately humiliating you and making you feel small, that erodes at your sense of safety. They can identify and manage their own feelings and take responsibility for their emotional reactions and then apologize genuinely. They have to be capable of processing emotions without resorting to blame or manipulation. In terms of kindness and empathy, they show genuine concern for your well being and the well being of others. And for example, people who work in the service industry, their family members, that type of thing. For me, a non negotiable is if they have a lack of basic kindness or consistent cruelty toward other people, that's a definitive red flag. Um, if they're making fun of somebody else, for example, for their body, if they treat people who are at a lower socioeconomic status than what they're at poorly, that's another, for me, that's same red flag. I always look at how they treat people who work in the service industry, waiters, um, people who work in sales, in the grocery store, any of those. If they see somebody in the service industry and they're yelling at them and treating them poorly and disrespectful, that energy will eventually turn to you. It'll take a while. It may take a while, it may not, but it will turn towards you. The other thing I look for in terms of kindness and empathy is how they treat animals. If they are mean to an animal, if they're cruel to an animal, for me, that's an I'm out. I will not participate. I will not even consider a relationship with somebody like that. Not that I'm in a place to consider a relationship ever again. I'm happily married and I'm very grateful. Um, so a commitment to growth is something that's really important as well. And that means that they know they come with a bunch of baggage, but they're consistently working on identifying their their poop and trying to be better, trying to be a better person. It's not an overnight thing. And I think about who I was when I was 10, who I was when I was 15, who I was when I was 20 and 25 and 30. And every year of my life, I have grown and I have changed and I have become a better person. And a great deal of that has been through my own self exploration and knowing that nobody besides me can fix me. So engaging in that self reflection and personal development is something that's really important in a partner. Having very similar communication styles, meaning that they're willing to discuss difficult topics and doing so in a calm and clear manner. We're all going to use poor word choices, not deliberately, but like I'll be the first to say, I meant something like this, and I said something that like this. And oh, there's a little bit of a gap in there. So you have to go back and you have to clarify. But being calm in those difficult moments, in those really stressful moments, and doing your level best to say what you truly mean is important. Listening to understand and not just reply is another especially important factor in a partnership. They have to be capable of effective, non defensive communication, but we all know that getting defensive isn't easy to do. It's really hard to not take offense when somebody is criticizing you. So you have to step back and say, where is this coming from? What is the intent that they mean? And setting aside your feelings for that moment to figure that out, which is emotional maturity on your own part, um, is really important to do. And that will help you sidestep that sense of defensiveness when you're having a difficult conversation with somebody. There's always room for improvement. There's always room for growth. Having similar ambitions and life trajectory, that's a hard word to say apparently today. They have a vision for their future and are working towards goals that align with the goals and future you see for yourself. Great example of this is if you want children and they do not, that those are different goals. That's not the right person for you. Trust them to know that they don't want children. And it's okay. Let them go on to somebody else. Thanks. It was nice knowing you. See you. Bye. Have a great life somewhere else. Somebody else will be there down the line. And even if somebody is not, that doesn't mean that your life is empty. You can have a very fulfilling life alone. And I have said this a number of times to friends, to family, in videos. It is far better to be happy alone than miserable with somebody else who supposedly loves you. But from the outside, you're in a partnership, but you're miserable in that partnership. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Be happy. If somebody comes to your life, you get to be happier. All right. And then, so other things that play into that ambitions and life trajectory are career goals, family, location. That's a really big thing. I live in the United States. My husband comes from another country in Europe, and we have talked about moving to his home country um, a number of times. And we've always decided no, it's not the time to do that yet because of this or because of that. And so, we're here and we're happy here. And that's the important part. Location matters. If the person that you're interested in wants to live 1,000 miles away from where your work is, your career is, the career that you love that you cannot do someplace else, or would be hard to do someplace else from your family, that's a big one for me. Um, if somebody wants to move you away from your friends and family, that is a tactic of isolating an individual, and that is dangerous. Can be dangerous. I shouldn't say is dangerous, can be dangerous. So, how do you determine these factors in somebody that you're interested in? Number one is you evaluate their actions and not just their words. They have to walk the walk. They have, if they say one thing, but they're doing something else, that's not walking the talk. They're not serious about what they've said they're going to do. They're doing what they want to do. And they're telling you what they think you want to hear. And sometimes it is what you want to hear. But if they're not living up to their word, that's a problem. Um, know your must have list versus a I want this, the nice to have list. These are things that, the must have are the things that you need in a partner. Um, Earlier, I used the example of children. If you want kids and they do not, that's that's a must have for you. Therefore, that's a deal breaker. And be clear on knowing the difference between the two of those. Finally, are they adding to your life? Do they bring something that enhances your life rather than complicating it or draining it? A lot of drama will drain you. So, a worthy partner is somebody who values you, who compliments you. Um, if honesty is your core value and they consistently tell white lies, they are not a worthy partner for you. They're not worthy of your commitment, of your time. No matter how physically attractive they are, they're not worthy because we all know that physical attractiveness wanes with time. Somebody can be incredibly beautiful on the outside and ugly on the inside, right? And so, that you have to love who's on the inside. Once you establish that they are worthy of you, then the focus moves to mutual commitment. And remember, you need to exhibit those same behaviors and standards that you expect of your partner. So truly, this means you're both worthy of each other in equal parts. Okay, so I've got some cards that I pulled. I'm going to change the view a little bit. There we go. Um, at the top, I'm using the Cosmic Journey Oracle by Yannick Silver. The first one that I pulled is You Cannot Pour from an Empty Cup. And in this reading, what that means to me is radical self love. We all have parts of ourself that we do not love, um, that we struggle with, that we have that internal negative voice talking about it all the time. And that means you are consistently living in a space of judgment. In this example, it's self judgment. But if you have that self judgment, very often you are judging others. And when other people judge you and it hurts, but then you're internalizing that judgment, yet you want to live proudly and loudly and be, you know, your whole self. You have to find a way to turn off that self-judgment, constant criticism, and radically love yourself. And once you radically love yourself, that's when your energy is in a place that will draw your best partner for that point in your life to you. On the opposite end, if you are consistently self judging, self critical, lots of self negative talk, that will draw somebody to you that perpetuates that treatment. Um, it may start off well, but they will eventually start treating you the same way you treat yourself. So that's what this card means to me. Pouring from a full cup means that you fully love yourself. The next card that I pulled here is the Alchemical Artist, and I need to read this one. Um, you may know of alchemy, the science of transmutation, from ancient efforts to turn lead into gold. But there is another greater purpose to transform from your small self into your greater self. The alchemical artist stands ready to transform the ordinary into the extraordinary, creating art from new combinations of what is in front of you. The artist's purpose is to bring beauty, truth, and new ideas through their creation. You are the ultimate creation, ready to evolve. As both the artist and the creation, you can become the alchemical artist. And there are some self reflection questions here. What is your own unique art? What ways can I continue my alchemy into my greater self? What relationships, gifts, and learnings from my own base material are now ready to transform into something more? The next card that I pulled is from the Letting Go deck by David R. Hawkins, and that is this card. Although letting go seems simple and easy, its ultimate effects are profoundly powerful. And there's a reading on the back. We can picture it being similar to the wheel of a ship. If we make even a 1 degree change in the compass, we will notice little difference. But that change will end up taking us to a very different place, many miles from our original course. So even though you may not be in radical self acceptance and self love right now, even if you make one small change, one daily statement to yourself of, I am a human being with every right, inherent right, simply because I'm alive, to love and be loved. Simple as that. You don't have to shrink yourself for other people to love you. And that's something that's important. If somebody tells you that you're too much or not enough, okay, they've told you they're not right for you. That is not your people. Let them go. Let them go. Move on. Find somebody who loves you and adores you for exactly who you are as you are. It doesn't mean that you don't continue that self growth journey, but it's that radical acceptance, right? I know this can get a little fuzzy sometimes. Sorry about that. All right. And then finally, I'm working with the Shadow Work Oracle cards by Sishui. I love this deck. It's fairly new to me, but I use it often because I really like it. So this one is Shadow Blossom. You need both sunlight and darkness to bloom fully. You are resilient. You are nourishing. And that is self-nourishment as well. Looking at all your shadows, at any of those things that have created you, who that have contributed to who you are, whether that be societal expectations or trauma or the joys in life, the ups, the downs, the sideways, back and forth, front to back, all the different ways, all the things that contributed to make you who you are. Looking at the things that are difficult, the ones that make you uncomfortable, and figuring out how those control your actions, that's a really big deal. A really big deal. The reason I say that is a lot of times people don't realize that there are bits and pieces to them that control their actions, and they don't even realize that their actions are being controlled by whatever those events are. I am, I'm about to turn 60. That's painful to say out loud. Anyway, I grew up in a very misogynistic time, and I have had to unlearn a great deal of the social conditioning that I grew up with. And there's been a lot that existed that I fought against and that I have helped other people grow through, and have, maybe stewed behind when it was necessary. Like, no, you don't get to treat me that way. You don't get to treat other people that way. But part of that growth has been looking at that to really explore those very subtle ways society conditions you and me and everybody. And then figuring out how that plays into the relationships that we have, because it really does. All right, moving on. Sorry, I got a little off topic there. The next card is making peace. This goes back to that radical self-love, self-acceptance. In the midst of adversity lies the path to self-discovery. It is profound and genuine risk to do that. And then finally, spirit awakening, sit with your shadows. It's the way to enlightenment. And that is listening to your intuition and connecting with your spirituality. Okay, that is what I have to share with you today. I do want to say that this is all for entertainment purposes only. Um, Please know that you're made of stardust and magic. You're far more powerful than you realize. You're profoundly loved. I wish you a beautiful rest of your day as you're watching. Take care. I'll see you soon. Bye.